what's witnessing inside of you is in the eternal now. The I of all of us, the I, is God's I inside of you. But what you're doing is you're using God's capacity to witness in time. This is what the Christian cross is telling you at a deep level. The vertical beam is the zero dimension. It's the eternal now. The horizontal beam represents on the left side, the past, in the middle, the eternal now, and on the right side, the future. So right now you're thinking about your future death when you won't be here anymore. That's the right side of the horizontal beam. The left is everything you've experienced so far, without which you wouldn't even know that she was your wife or your kid, because if you had no memory, you'd be like an Alzheimer's patient. And that's why they say the beautiful thing about being an Alzheimer's patient is you get to meet new people every day, because even your wife of 35 years looks brand new to you because they're stuck in the eternal now, or they're in their right brain without the left brain, if you want another way to look at it. But what you're stating to me is that you're bringing your awareness to the fact that the arrow of time is always moving forward and that your physical body is going to drop off. And because you're perceiving yourself in the horizontal dimension of the cross, then you're buying into the illusion that Josh will be gone when his body's gone. But what's actually inside of Josh's body saying these words right now is impossible to kill. Look at physics. If you look at the laws of thermodynamics, it says energy produced cannot be destroyed, only transformed. So when you lose your body, your soul is not destroyed, it's only transformed, and you live in a light body, okay? Like, I can go talk to dead people on the other side. I do it all the time. I do it for people to give them messages and to help them heal from the pain of loss. I visit my grandmother. I visit family members. My wife is an expert at that. You know, there's a great podcast called Death and Beyond where I have Angie, Chek, and Sally Crow, a famous medium, all describing their different experiences and me talking about mine. One of the most listened to podcasts I've had. But the point I'm making is, Josh, because you're perceiving this, your sense of grief is coming from the belief that you only exist in time. But the part of you that you're not aligning with is the fact that only your body is temporal, and it makes it meaningful to be alive. Because if you live forever, you'd say, oh, screw it.
Yes.
Why bother? Why work so hard to be a dad?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put my kids in the closet till I'm ready. I mean, we would do all sorts of crazy things, but when there's a finality to life, which is why we enter into the field of time. You see, without time, everything would be happening all at once, and there's no way to make meaning of anything. God's trying to make meaning of itself through life. That's what life is. It's life as God experiencing itself. But God knows God cannot die, which is why God loves it all, and God's in no hurry because there's nothing else for God to do. This is forever for God. It's been going on forever, and it will go on forever. There's no beginning or end to that which is absolute or infinite. So the key point I'm making is when you die, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to find yourself looking at your body going, holy shit, I'm not dead. And only somebody like me or Angie or someone with these skills who's deep enough into their spiritual development to see clairvoyantly, I will see you stand there and I'll say, hey, Josh, how you doing, buddy? Congratulations. Do you need me to tell your wife or your kids anything? And I'll be a medium for you. And I will teach them. I recently had a friend pass. Actually, my brother-in-law, and my sister was really feeling a lot of sadness and pain because her husband just passed, and she's been with him for a long time, and she loves him. And I said to I said, Barbara, he is not gone. He's standing right next to you right now. He's right there. She goes, it's funny you say that. I keep feeling him close to me. I said, yes, because he doesn't want to leave, right? Yet because he can feel your emotional pain. He wants you to know he's not dead. So I said, I won't bore you with the long details, but I taught her how to communicate with him. And so I said, this is what you do. This is how you make contact with him. And this is how you know for sure he's there. And I taught her what to do so she would know beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so I texted her a couple of days later and said, how are you doing? She goes, it's amazing. I'm having conversations with him all the time. She says, it's crazy, but she says, not only do I feel him there, but now I'm talking to him and I'm doing what you told me to do. And it's for real. He's here, so we don't want to leave quite often until the people around us have reached a level of acceptance that it's not so painful for us. There's different circumstances for each soul, which is too much to get into. But just to put this in a nutshell, if you switch from the belief that you won't be able to be with your kids and your wife again and go deep enough into yourself this is what Spirit Gym's for, by the way, to get everything out of the way of these truths, and I teach you how to do it, you will, first of all, you can talk to anyone that's not conscious that you're there. You talk to them when they're dreaming. How many people do you know that had dreams that their loved ones that passed over came to see them in dreams? It's as common as breath.
Yeah.
There's billions of people that have these experiences, not millions, billions. So when you die, if you can't access Carrie or your kids, you will wait till they're asleep dreaming and you will go talk to them. And they'll wake up and go, oh my God, Dad came to me last night, or Josh came to me and he told me, don't forget the will is in the cupboard in the such, and she goes and said, it'll be there, right?
Yeah.
And you could not read all the books with the eyewitness cases of this in it. So the problem is that most people here are so unconscious of these higher dimensions of reality that death feels very final to them. But for people like me that have done the work to grow these abilities, you realize that God is playing an amazing game with itself. But the deeper you go into God, the more of a sense of humor God has, and the more this whole play that we're playing is absolutely miraculous and necessary. And to tell you why this happens is because the soul is actually unconditional love. Only God can create a soul and give a soul, and that's what happens when God dreams an aspect of itself into being as a living sentient being, whether it be a deer, a beaver, or a Josh. The conscious awareness that you have inside of yourself that's listening to me right now, that is your soul listening. So when the soul is born because God dreams it into existence, it has no conscious awareness of itself because it's unconditional love. So it actually doesn't even know it's alive because it's unconditional. So when God dreams it into the play, be it on earth or any other place in the universe where this kind of life happens, which is many places, God dreams it into a physical body because then the soul looks and says, oh my God, look at these. I got hands. Oh my, look, I got arms. I got a body. And it starts to realize that when it's coming into the womb, actually. And this is why Plotinus says the soul's greatest addiction is to matter. Because until the soul has something tangible to say, I am, it doesn't even know that it exists. It's unconditional. So once the soul goes into matter, the deeper you go into the lower vibrations, which is the crystallization of consciousness. So you start at the causal body, which is the departure from source or zero. So when God dreams, think of a bubble coming out of zero. That's a soul. Then it goes to the higher mental where it is impacted by the archetypes. So the archetypes program it for the life that it's coming into. So it has a mental structure. This is what Jung called the objective psyche. We all know what a mother is. We all know what a father is. We all know what food is. We all know what hunting is. We all know what money is. We have, just like a keyboard has to have the letters of the alphabet on it, or you can't make meaning with it. The archetypes are then programmed into the soul, and then you go into the lower mental world where you pick up the storyline of your role in the grand play. Then you come through the astral dimension, which animates the mind and gives you inner imagery and emotion. Then you come into the etheric dimension, where the biochemistry of the body is alive. That's the fetus in the womb. And then you are in the physical body. each step I just described, you go from God down, the soul becomes a little bit more unconscious, because it's taking something that is as vast as the universe, God, something that's unconditional, is everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. And as it steps down into the dream to become a character in the divine drama or the divine play, it crystallizes itself into form, and each step it goes, it's less aware of itself in these higher states, because if you were aware of the archetypal realm all the time, how would you drive a car? In other words, if you are the keyboard, how can you be the story? The keyboard makes the story. If the keyboard disappears into the story, there's no way to keep writing the story as a metaphor. So it might take a minute to think about that. You've written a lot of things on a keyboard, haven't you?
Sure.
Okay. Well, what if you were writing and all of a sudden the keyboard disappeared? How would you write? You wouldn't. You'd say, what the hell happened? Okay. So the point I'm making is, when we pass through these dimensions, we pick up these archetypes, and those archetypes are inside of us. But the story itself has to be separate from the archetypes. So that's why we have mental functions, right? So those archetypes are in us, and we use them to think and to process and to dream so we can make meaning. Then you go down progressively lower into the physical body. Now you're actually so circumscribed in your sense of self, you actually believe this is where you begin and end. But the soul's now in love with this. It's, oh my God, look at this. I got a body. You look in the mirror, it's like, I'm this handsome dude. I got muscles. I got children, whatever, all these things. I got my new house, right? Well, that's what it means to be in the story. So the soul is now so deep into the story, it forgets that it passed through the angelic realm, it passed through the archetypal realm, and it's living in all these realms simultaneously, but it's only aware here because it has to have its focus here to engage in the story, because it is the story through which God evolves. This leads to something profound. The most important definition of a myth, which I got from James Carse, which just about knocked me out of my chair, most people aren't deep enough to get it. What is a myth?